Would you please welcome to stage the author of 3 Minute Coach, Marcus Bird. Rocket, baby.
Thank you, Matt. When Team New Zealand lined up for their 2013 America's Cup campaign, they had to work out a way to filter through all of the noise so that they could make the best out of that campaign. They had to work out a way to cut through and filter all of the noise, all of the decisions, all of the choices that they were being bombarded with every day so that they could get the best out of their campaign. And what they came up with was one of the most amazing questions, the most profound and simple questions to help them to achieve their goal. And that question was, will it make the boat go faster? And history shows that Team New Zealand got their wish. Their boat did go faster. And they won the America's Cup. And I think it was that one fundamental question that helped them to filter through all of the noise, all of the distraction that we now currently face. And I don't know about how you feel, but my world is going faster. And I think all our worlds are going faster. I think we've become more distracted, more shallow, and more impatient than any other generation before us. And this impatience is demanding that we remove our obsession with fluff. Who here has a smartphone? Hold your smartphone up. Yeah, exactly. Did you know 50% of you still use your smartphone when you're driving? But also 33% of you, those that have the courage, 33% of you are using your smartphone on a dinner date. Now, if I use my smartphone on a dinner date, there'd be all hell to pay. And if that's not amusing enough, 12% of you are using your smartphone in the shower. I mean, in the shower. How are you doing that? Now, if you've got a Samsung Galaxy G5, I get it, because that's one of the only phones where you probably could use it in the shower. But for the rest of you, how are you doing that? And if that statistic isn't disturbing enough, 20 of you in this room, that's 10% of this room, are using your smartphone during sex. I mean, really, people, what are you doing with your smartphone? Now, before you turn to the person next to you, if they're aged between 18 and 35, they're twice as likely to be using their smartphone during sex. And I'm wondering, what are you doing? Like, what are you people doing? I'm fascinated with human behaviour. And, you know, if you're listening to music, I totally get it. It sort of conjures up playlists, doesn't it? And what's on your playlist? Is it Barry White, or is that just me? And who's the modern Barry White? Is it Kanye? I don't know. So I think we all get that the world is moving faster. And I think we all feel the higher expectations that now rest on our shoulders. And it's from this mountain of technology that we've created that's commanding that we dig deep, we connect deep, and remove the fluff, and I think find our one filtering question. Now, the fluff I'm talking about is not the fluffy bunny type of fluff, and it's not the fluffy cotton bud, and it's certainly not the fluffy pillow type of fluff. It's the fluff of dancing around core issues and avoiding the elephant in the room. It's the fluff of entertaining old thoughts and belief patterns that we no longer need. And it's the fluff of procrastination, of not getting on with a job. And I think we have to learn to do it fast, and I think we have to remove this fluff. I didn't realise just how much fluff I played in. And I didn't realise just how the speed of our society affected me, because I think there's good fast and there's bad fast, and I think the bad fast is making us sick. And I felt that firsthand when on the 3rd of, I saw this firsthand when on the 3rd of October, my partner Stephanie got the opportunity of a lifetime. We're sitting on the couch one evening, and we put the 3 kids to bed, and we're sitting there, and I'm watching telly. Stephanie is surfing the airwaves on her Facebook, and a message came across on her feed from a friend who was working with Aboriginal elders in an outback community in WA. And the message read that she had to leave urgently to go to Sydney to have an operation, and she needed someone to replace her within 4 days. Now, what you don't know about Stephanie is that she's had this on her bucket list all of her life, to go and work with Aboriginal elders. And when she shared the post with me, you could see her sit upright in the chair as she excitedly told me about the post. And in the same time, she shrunk back down and she said, "Marcus, with your business and the 3 kids, there's no way I can go in 4 days." And I knew in that moment that if Stephanie didn't go, a small part of her was going to die that night. And so we had a 3-minute conversation. She booked her tickets. And as she's booking the tickets, she kept looking back over her shoulder at me just to check that I was going to be okay. And I'm going, how hard can it be? No problem. You know, going to work, then, you know, waking the kids up, getting them fed, getting them dressed, off to school, picking them up, feeding them, undressing them, putting back to bed. Can't be that hard. But let me tell you, that was the hardest 4 weeks of my life. After the first week, I'm in my room, in the fetal position. It's midnight. I've only just got the kids to sleep. And I'm rocking like a baby who's come down off a Red Cotties cordial high. And I'm screaming out, "Please save me. Someone bring my wife home. Please save me." And they didn't even have any phone connections. There was no internet connection. You would have thought one of the elders would have had a web page or a Facebook or a Twitter feed, right? And I'm sitting there tweeting, "Where is my wife? Someone bring my wife home. Hashtag dingo stole my wife." And, you know, before kids, everything's really different, right? Things seem a lot simpler and easier before kids. Even the simplest of things, or even the simplest things can be really hard when you've got kids. Like, for example, leaving home. So when you don't have kids, this is what leaving home looks like. "So, darling, shall we leave home?" "Yes, I think we shall. That's a great idea." That's leaving home without kids. Now, leaving home with kids is a whole other kettle of fish, right? This is leaving home with kids. "Come on, kids, we've got to go. We're running late. We've got to get to Grandma's house. You know she loves to eat by 5. Come on, guys. Lucy, my 5-year-old. "Lucy, sweetheart, where are your shoes?" "What do you mean you don't know where your shoes are? You had them on 5 minutes ago." "Go to your room and find them, sweetheart." "Brendan," my 11-year-old. "Brendan, come on, we've got to go. What are you doing?" "Put the Lego down. We've got to go." Claudia, my 14-year-old. "Claudia, come on, we've got to go. We're running late." "Get off the internet." "Lucy, well done, sweetheart, but thongs just aren't going to cut it. It's 10 degrees outside. Go get your boots on, sweetheart." "Brendan, well done. Come on, let's go." Claudia, Lucy, well done, Lucy, let's go." "All right, Claudia, get off Facebook." And you'll notice all the parents in the room, because they're the ones with the bags under the eyes, drinking copious amounts of coffee and a nervous tick. And while I was sitting there in my state, I remembered that Stephanie had left a manual for me on how the family ran. And I somehow dragged myself out of the corner and I went hunting for this manual. Now, she told me to read it before she went away. But, you know, I'm like, don't need to read that. Yeah, it's like, you know, like a bit of a badge of honour. You know, you get a list, you get to go to the shops, you don't read it. It's, you know, it's cool. Anyway, I went hunting for this manual, desperate to find it. Eventually, I got the manual. I put it on the table, and I opened to the first page. And there it was. Step 1, get up 2 hours before the children. What? Like, who does that? Step 2, eat your breakfast first. Oh, my God, I'm thinking, she is an absolute genius. But what I learnt from what Stephanie wrote is that you had to get really, really deep. You had to connect deep. You had to do it fast, and there was no room for fluff. So if the world is going faster, I think we're probably going shallower, and it's the fluff that's getting in the road of us going faster. So how do we fix this? How do we remove the fluff and connect deep to what matters most? So riddle me this. Why do we think leadership has to take so long? Why do leaders spend 25 to 80% of their time in meetings? And why are they only 33 to 47% productive? And why is this costing us $3.7 billion a year? I think we've got to stop having meetings. I think it's a 3-minute debrief, it's a 6-minute huddle, or it's a 12-minute meeting. Because I think we've got to get on with the job. We've got to meet the speed of our society. It's why I wrote the book, The 3-Minute Coach. Because I was sick and tired of how long conversations were taking. I think we've got to get on with the job. I think we have to deepen our connections. I think we have to deepen our conversations. And I think we have to deepen our influence. And we have to do it fast. Now, did you know that the oldest law firm in China is only 163 years old? This is in a country that's well over 8,000 years old. And it was the deep connections and reputation that made the contract. And if you broke that, there was hell to pay. And they've only really needed lawyers in the last couple of hundred years just to test this stuff, because it was the social connections and it was the intimate relationships that has held one of the oldest living societies together, who are undoubtedly the next power base of our generation. So you're going to be doing business with people who are influenced by these values, who rely on deep connections. And in a fast-paced world, I think it's more important than ever that we get this right. Did you know every 20 minutes there are 2 million friends requests? And the average number of friends now on Facebook is 200. So I want you to avoid looking at the person next to you and, based on those statistics, looking them up and down and going, are they above average or below average? Now, traditionally, the antidote has been about slowing down. Maybe mindfulness or meditation. But I'm not sure that's the answer. Some choose a sea change or a tree change. But I don't think it's about checking out. I think we have to get faster about going slow, because we're more connected, yet less connected than we've ever been, ever before. And I think there's good fast and there's bad fast. And the bad fast is making us sick. And I found this out firsthand when, in April 2001, I find myself lying in a dark room with barely enough energy to turn over, not being able to interact socially like normal people, not able to hold a job, not able to watch television or listen to the radio or have any stimulus whatsoever. And when I was struck down by chronic fatigue syndrome, I realised firsthand what the speed of our society and the pressures that we're now facing can do to you. And on the road to recovery, what I had to do was find ways to do things faster, because I only had a small amount of energy and therefore a small amount of time to get stuff done. And so what I realised was, in all of this chaos, there is good fast and bad fast. And the bad fast is making us go shallow. It's making us to be distracted, disconnected, and vague. But the good fast is allowing us to go deep, to connect, to be present, and to communicate effectively. So I think that 200 friends, 40 likes, and 13 comments is just not going to cut it. I think we have to get connected deeper. I think we have to do it faster, because a loss of intimacy is a loss of trust. In World War II, thousands more men would have died if General Patton had waited for all of the information before he made a decision. What he did was he waited for 40% of the information, allowed his intuition to make the right decision. And then he said that the next 40% just backed up what he already knew, and the final 20% was really just procrastination. So what General Patton was saying is that 60% of the information we get is basically just fluff. So what I'm really talking about is removing the fluff so you can connect deeper to what matters most. And I think what we need to do is, it's the depth of our connections, the depth of our conversations, and the depth of our influence, which is going to create momentum. And we have to learn to do it fast if we're to stay ahead of the game and keep up with the chaos of a hyper-connected world. Now, when I was 17, I learnt the importance of connecting deep. I was a member of the Australian ski team, represented Australia for 4 years running, and I remember one of my coaches giving me some valuable advice. He said, Marcus, when you're travelling at 130 kilometres an hour, 6 inches off the snow, there's only 2 things you need to remember. 1, connect to what you're doing. 2, lean in to the mountain. Valuable advice. I saw firsthand how the effects of communicating deep when I worked at a psychiatric facility in Melbourne. And I remember one afternoon, I was walking past one of the patients' room and I heard a ruckus coming from it. I walked in and there's a beautiful 14-year-old locked herself in the bathroom, threatening to kill herself. And I watched firsthand how one of the nurses sat outside that door, connected deeply, communicated deeply, and within 3 minutes was allowed to go into that bathroom and inevitably save that beautiful girl's life. Now, you and I might not be dealing in life-threatening situations, but I reckon if you're not communicating deep, then you're at risk of losing really good people. And I felt the effects of influencing deep when I worked at Borders head office. And one of the directors, John Coote, came in and saw me one day, and he wasn't a direct report to me or a direct line to me. And he pointed and he said, you and I need to go for a walk. And in the 12 minutes we walked, he connected really deep, he communicated deep, and he influenced me to this day because he got me at a really deep level. And he nailed what was going on for me, and I would follow him anywhere he would ask. And so I think if you want people to follow, you have to learn to influence them deep, and you have to do it fast. Now, I've worked tirelessly at removing fluff and connecting deep to what matters most. And I had to come up with a fail-safe way of doing that. And it's a technique that I teach in my book. And when you learn this technique, what you're going to find is that your relationships deepen and your communication becomes clearer and more effective. And that technique is called questioning triage, and it goes like this. You ask a question, you listen to the answer, you ask a question based on that answer. It sets up like a feedback loop, and very quickly you go from here to here, grabbing the insights that propel clear actions out the other side in under 3 minutes. Now, I'll let you into a little secret. How you start anything is generally how you finish that thing. So I reckon the first few questions are absolutely critical. And I call these the 3 essential questions. What are you working on? What's your biggest win? And the most important one of all, what do you need right now? I've spent time sharing this technique with managers all over Australia. And one comes to mind. I was working with Ted Camera Store, their senior management, and we were working with managers on the floor and helping them to become leaders. And they implemented this one technique, and they noticed a 37% increase in sales. So, I think we need to stop mucking around with how long it takes. It's a snap. We need to upgrade the speed and depth of our connections. We have to go deeper as the world has gone shallow. I think this is the most important message on the planet right now. Because if you want to parent more effectively, connect deeper fast. If you want to sell more, communicate deeper fast. And if you want to lead more effectively, influence deeper fast. It's why I wrote the book, to overcome the mountain of technology that we've now created. I'm Marcus Bird, and I think all it takes is a snap to do business at the speed of thought. Thank you.
Hey.